You are listening to Veggie Doctor Radio, and this is episode number 228. Welcome to Veggie Doctor Radio. I am your host, Dr. Yami, board-certified pediatrician, certified lifestyle medicine physician, certified health and wellness coach, author, speaker, mother, wife, and human being. I passionately believe in the power of diet, habits, and mindset in sparking and sustaining well-being and joy in our lives. This podcast combines expert interviews and thoughtful monologues to explore plant-based nutrition, lifestyle medicine, parenting, mindset, and other exciting and fun topics. I hope that these episodes inspire you, uplift you, and equip you with the knowledge and tools to live your best life. Are you ready to get started? Let's do it. Well, hello, veggie lovers. Welcome back to another episode of Veggie Doctor Radio. Today, I have for you the one, the only Dr. Michael Greger. Finally got him on the podcast, and we have a really fun conversation. I ask him a lot of personal questions about his life and the things that he does, what motivates him. So I know that you're going to love this episode. He is such a busy guy, so we only got a 30-minute time block, but I tried to make the most of it, so I hope that you enjoy it. But let me tell you, for those of you that don't know who Dr. Michael Greger is, I am so glad you're learning about him and that you get to hear from him today. So he is a founding member and a fellow of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. Michael Greger, MD, is a physician, New York Times bestselling author, and internationally recognized speaker on nutrition. He has videos on more than 2,000 health topics freely available at nutritionfacts.org, with new videos and articles uploaded almost every day. Dr. Greger has lectured at the Conference on World Affairs, testified before Congress, and was invited as an expert witness in the defense of Oprah Winfrey in the infamous meat defamation trial. He is a graduate of Cornell University School of Agriculture and Tufts University School of Medicine. 3 of his recent books, How Not to Die Cookbook, and How Not to Diet, all became instant New York Times bestsellers. His latest 2 books, How to Survive a Pandemic and the How Not to Diet Cookbook, were released in 2020. All proceeds he receives from the sales of his books go to charity, and I am so excited that his next book is going to be How Not to Age. So it's going to be on the topic of longevity. Super excited about that. In this podcast, we talk about his personal motivation for eating a plant-based diet and applying the principles of lifestyle medicine. Talk about how he supports his own well-being, what disease terrifies him the most, how nutritionfacts.org started, how has it evolved, and what is it like today, what he's most proud of or grateful for in his career. And I also ask him a question about separating our animal advocacy from our focus on health and well-being. And he had a really interesting response and things to think about there. The wildest argument he's heard against eating a plant-based diet. And finally, what he wishes more people knew. It's a really excellent conversation. I really hope that you enjoy it. And if you don't already have his book, How Not to Die, I consider it the Bible. I recommend it to everybody, especially if you're starting on this journey and you want to know the evidence of eating a plant-based diet and other nutrition and lifestyle habits. I recommend that book. So I hope that you really enjoy this episode. Thank you so much for being here every week. And for new listeners, welcome. I appreciate you. I hope that you will share this episode with somebody who you love or who you think would benefit from this information. So now let's welcome the one and the only Dr. Michael Greger. Dr. Michael Greger, welcome to Veggie Doctor Radio.
I'm so excited to be here.
It's really such an honor and a privilege to have you on. You are such a prolific, evidence-based master of the universe. That's what I'm going to call you today. The evidence-based master of the universe. And, you know, for so many years in the plant-based community, you have been the trustworthy source of information with your videos and 5 books that you've published. It's amazing. So today, instead of spending all the time talking about evidence, I want to learn a little bit about you today. So my first question for you is, what is your personal motivation for eating a plant-based diet and applying the principles of lifestyle medicine?
Well, for me, it was my grandma, actually. I was just a kid when doctor sent my grandma home in a wheelchair to die, diagnosed with end-stage heart disease. She already had so many bypass operations, basically run out of plumbing at some point, confined in a wheelchair, crushing chest pain. Her life was over at age 65. But then she heard about this guy, Nathan Pritikin, one of our early lifestyle medicine pioneers, and what happened next is actually detailed in Pritikin's biography. It talks about Frances Greger, my grandmother. They wheeled her in, and she walked out. Though she was given her medical death sentence at age 65, thanks to a healthy diet, was able to enjoy another 31 years on this planet till age 96, to continue to enjoy her 6 grandkids, including me. That's why I went into medicine. That's why I do what I do. That's why I went into lifestyle medicine, why I started nutritionfacts.org, why I wrote How Not to Die, why all the proceeds I receive from all my books are donated directly to charity. I just wanted to do for everyone's family what Pritikin did for my family.
That's amazing. So how old were you when that happened to your grandmother? And what was it like as a child experiencing her transformation?
Well, I was young enough to. I remember watching Sesame Street when at my grandma's house. So that is a while ago. For me, it's interesting. At the time, I didn't think anything of it. I mean, for me, as a kid, that's what happens when you go to the doctor, right? I mean, you're sick, and then you go to the doctor and you get better. That's what doctors are for, right? And so the fact that grandma was all better, was no shock. Little did I know that at the time they didn't think heart disease was reversible at all. You just get worse, and you die. Similarly, other chronic lifestyle diseases like type 2 diabetes, people have the sense that people just get worse. Little did we know that in both cases you can actually reverse the course of the disease, open up arteries without drugs, without surgery. And so it's interesting. It didn't really hit me personally until summer of 1990 with the publication of Dr. Dean Ornish's Lifestyle Heart Trial, where basically, Pritikin had been reversing heart disease by the thousands, but it was just, kind of a clinical diagnosis. People had angina, it's crushing chest pain with exertion, and then the angina went away, but you just kind of have to take the patient's word for it that they had angina in the first place. Whereas what Ornish did was randomize people to continue to eat the diet recommended by their physicians, which is their typical diet, or randomized to a plant-based diet and lifestyle program. And then you can actually see before and after with angiographic evidence. You can actually look with x-rays and see what's actually happening inside the arteries. It can show that the usual diet group continued to get worse. They continued to eat a diet that was clogging up their arteries, and so their arteries continued to get clogged, whereas those, even late in life, starting to eat a plant-based diet, once they stopped stabbing themselves with a fork 3 times a day, their body naturally started healing. In fact, their bodies wanted to start healing every day until breakfast, when we started injuring the inner lining of our arteries and filling our bloodstream up with cholesterol. And so as soon as you take away that insult, all of a sudden, the arteries started healing on their own, started opening up, blood flow increased. And so, I had seen it with my own eyes with my grandma, but here it was in black and white, published in one of the most prestigious medical journals in the world. I'm looking around and saying, okay, here we have the cure. Ta-da! All right, number 1 killer of men and women, vanquished. But nothing changed, right? And to this day, hundreds of thousands of Americans continue to die of this preventable, arrestable, reversible disease. And so from that moment on, my life really became, I was recently interested in going into research. I was always fascinated by biomedical research. But then I realized, wait a second, we don't need any more research. The number 1 killer, we have the research, yet everyone's just kind of ignoring it. Why do more research? I mean, come up with a cure for cancer and everyone just ignore it. Like, what's the point unless people actually put this into practice? And so that became my life's mission, is to take this mountain of evidence that was already present in the peer-reviewed medical journals and just translate that into practice, to give people the tools to make these decisions in their own lives, to treat the cause of disease, which is about 80% of chronic lifestyle disease. About 80% of what primary care docs see these days are diseases caused by lifestyle. And so if you actually want to not just treat the symptoms and slow the rate at which they decline, you actually want to reverse the course of illness, then you have to change one's lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible, because what you're saying is that you witnessed your grandmother almost miraculously healed, but of course you didn't know it was a miracle at that time. Later on, you read the study and you're like, well, that happened to my grandma. I didn't even realize it was a miracle. And then you're like, why doesn't everybody know this? Why aren't we doing this to everybody? And to this day, 2022, you're still having to go out there and tell people about this evidence, because there's still so many physicians that don't know. And a lot of people that still believe that, of course, once you get diabetes, once you get heart disease, it is just a slow decline to death. There's a lot of people that still don't know.
High blood pressure, obesity. I mean, people just have this kind of throw your hands up in the air, nothing I can do about it, runs in my family. But no, these are diseases that can be prevented, arrested, reversed. And unfortunately, doctors, graduate medical school without these powerful tools of lifestyle medicine. So they don't understand the role health and nutrition can play in the course of illness. And so, the doctors have the severe nutrition deficiency in education. Of course, there's also institutional barriers as well. There's time constraints and lack of reimbursement. Doctors typically aren't just paid to counsel people how to take better care of themselves. And of course, look, drug companies have a role in influencing medical education and practice. You can ask your doctor when's the last time they were taken out to dinner by Big Broccoli. It's probably been a while. It's just the system is just not set up to support these kind of interventions.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious, because you wrote the book, How Not to Die, which in that book you cover the 15 leading causes of premature death. And then you present all this research, all these ways that we can actually decrease our risk of death, of the top 15 causes of death in the United States, through nutrition and lifestyle choices. I'm curious to know, is there a disease that personally terrifies you the most?
Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Dementia.
I'm with you.
The thought of, not recognizing yourself or your loved ones, in the mirror, that's just, no matter what happens, like, you hurt your foot, you hurt part of your body, and as long as your brain is okay, right? I feel like I could be a brain in a vat and still get, like, shit done. You would.
Yes.
It's just there's a sense of if you have a cognitive disorder, then it's your actual yourself that's diseased, as opposed to like some body part where it's just, that's not you, it's your hand. But when it's your brain, that would impair my ability to do the work that I love. And so that's the skyrocketing rates. 4 million Americans now suffering from Alzheimer's disease, one leading cause of death. Still in the dark. Although, interestingly, Dean Ornish right now is running a trial to try to reverse the course of Alzheimer's with the same kind of plant-based diet and lifestyle program, which, it's amazing that the trial's even going on. I'm skeptical. I think at some point, the concept of reversing brain damage that's already been done, I could imagine maybe slowing down the progression. But the thought that we'd actually get an improvement in cognition, who knows? No one knows the results yet. But God bless him. And it's exciting to see that work progress.
It's good that the study's being done and that we're getting more data that way, because for sure, I'm with you on that one. And that's one of my all-time greatest fears. My maternal grandfather right now has dementia, vascular dementia, that's progressing very rapidly. And, it's not something you plan for, and so when that happens, it takes you by surprise almost. And then it just progresses so rapidly. And everybody's like, I don't want this. I don't want to be like this. It's a big deal to have dementia at the end of your life. So I'm with you. So I'd love to know, what is a typical day in your life like? I know that a lot of it involves work and creating content and reading studies, but how do you support your own well-being?
Not as well as I would like. Something I'm still working on. So my biggest thing is sleep. So adequate sleep is one of the pillars of lifestyle medicine. And is something that I struggle with. I'm just find I'm not as productive when I'm unconscious. And so it's always a struggle. In fact, I remember, it's funny, when I was writing the sleep chapter for my new book, it was like in the middle of the night. I was like, quick, I got to get up and write the sleep chapter. It's like, I feel this real drive. But so that's probably the area that I could do most. And also exercise. I walk on my treadmill most of the at a treadmill desk. When I'm reading studies, which is most of the day, and so that keeps me from sitting, and so I don't have to worry about being sedentary, but I'm really not getting my heart rate up, and so I really incorporating more aerobic exercise, sleeping better. I got the food thing down. It's nice being home, although when I'm on the road, it's difficult. I don't have control over my food, but when I'm home, I'm that's one of the things I can at least eat healthy.
So in your sleep chapter, you're going to have a little footnote about how you don't necessarily follow your own advice.
What I say? Notice I do, people. Although it's interesting, I was happy to find out that the sleep and mortality data is much more conflicting than I had originally thought. So I was very.
You have
I was
an out
scared.
there. You have a little
right,
out.
No, I was totally scared. I was like, I don't even want to know what happens to you when you don't get enough sleep. But yeah, it's a really difficult thing to study, and there's all sorts of confounding factors, and but it wasn't as I'm not saying everyone shouldn't get enough sleep. I'm just saying the data isn't as rock solid as I feared.
I love it. Okay, well, you talked about this drive and waking up in the middle of the night to write about your sleep chapter. Has anybody accused you of being a workaholic?
Oh, absolutely. But the workaholic has such a negative connotation because you think of someone doing some meaningless job for some corporate entity. It's like you're an accountant and you're and you're neglecting your family and your loved ones and your self-care to do some kind of just make your boss more money or something,
making widgets.
Right. But if you're doing this kind of life-changing, life-saving work, then I feel like the more you can do, the better. It's like I think I see it as like a positive thing to really have this drive to do more and to reach more people. And you can imagine all the people that reach out to me and email me or call me and say how much they've changed, have changed their lives. And it's like, one more video, I could reach, this many more people. And it's just hard not to, I just don't want to kind of leave anything on the table. Until there are people out there that if they knew this information, the next day they change. Some people, do it slow and but there's some people that you've met, right? That if they just knew, they're like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to not smoke. Okay, boom, boom, and it's like, until I've reached every single one of those people, that it's like, if they just knew, they would change. Then I feel I just have to keep working. Look, there's some people, it's your body, your choice. You want to smoke cigarettes and go bungee jumping, do whatever you want. Disconnect your smoke alarms. It's your life. Do whatever you want. But so many people are eating and living the way they are out of misconceptions. Out of, they've been, told by the dairy industry since they were born that, whatever. And so they just don't know the evidence. They just don't know what the data is. They don't know how much power they have over their health, destiny, and longevity. And the good news is we have tremendous power And the vast majority of premature death and disability is preventable with a plant-based diet and lifestyle. And until everybody knows that, I will continue to work until everybody at least has the opportunity to take the health and well-being of themselves and their families into their own hands.
Yeah. Well, we're grateful for it, Dr. Greger. We are grateful. And I'm just teasing you a little bit because you are so prolific and you work so hard. And so I know it has to come from a place of passion, because if you don't have passion, there's no way you could drive this hard, and I know from my own life. And I just remember back when we were at the Holistic Holiday of Sea cruise many years ago, and I sat down and I asked you, I'm passionate about this, what should I do? And you said, go online and reach as many people as possible. And that's been your mantra for so many years.
I mean, we have this tremendous opportunity these days with this kind of democratization of information. Of course, there's all sorts of crazy people online spouting all sorts of nonsense, but that makes it even more important to get your voice out there. And one hope is that the truth will kind of rise to the surface eventually, or at least, open up the conversation for people to dig deeper and find out for themselves. And so, I haven't done, primary care for over a decade now. And, it's all writing, research, speaking. And I have tremendous respect for the, primary care docs who are every day reaching, people, changing entire families. And, but it's like, how many people can you see in a day? Right? And it's just like this information is so critical that, we can reach thousands of people, millions of people by getting this information out there. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, tell me a little bit about nutritionfacts.org. How did that start? Like, was it just from an idea? Somebody else presented it to you? How has it evolved? And tell me about what it's like now. I mean, now you have a huge team that helps you run this big machine of information.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. I pinch myself every day. So it originated. So, I started out in primary care and reaching those, how many dozens of people can you talk to in a day? I realized that I needed to reach more people. And so I went on the road, and, spoke at, my goal was to hit every single medical school every single year and basically educate an entire new generation of docs. And so I was literally on the road, like, one key in my keychain, living out of my car, basically, driving around the country, speaking, and then I could reach hundreds of people a day. And then I went and started making back then VHS tapes. How crazy is that? And then DVDs of my talks to distribute wires, and then I could reach thousands of people a day. But this information really deserved to reach millions. And so a philanthropic individual from Canada reached out and said, they actually said, how much can I pay you to put your DVDs online for free, right? Like, can I buy the rights to them? I'm like, what do you mean buy the rights? They're yours, please put them up. That'd be amazing. I just, and he was an internet mogul type, made all his money, and so he had his own team, he had people, and so that was Nutrition Facts. It was originally just all the content from the DVDs that went up, and then I realized just how the power that I could have to reach that many people, and so I started making content. And so it was all originally just his staff doing it. And at one point he said, all right, you're up and running. He was like a philanthropic entrepreneur. He's like, now I want to move on to something else. And so it's like, okay, now you pay for this staff. I'm like, how am I supposed to do that? And he's like, just no problem. Put a little donate button at the top.
Love it.
Make it orange for some reason. I guess it's like an that's what these people do, right? Put a little orange donate button at the top, and and I'm like, okay, but it's a lot of money to, because all the server costs and stuff. No problem. Overnight, it was easy. I mean, it's like a Wikipedia model where everything's free, no ads, no commercial, not selling anything, just put up as a public service. But we just reach so many millions of people that if 1,000 people kicks in a few bucks, then we're set, right? And so it was just amazing, just this outpouring of support, and people really hungry for this kind of information, kind of having like an unbiased source, where it's just like, don't just tell me the science, show me the science. Here's the links to all the original studies, so you can download it all yourself, make up your own mind. Like there was just this real desperation for that kind of unbiased, evidence-based information. And so that's all it took, and we were off and running. And then we were able to hire social media. And so at the time I was still like doing all the Facebook posts and like everything, so we were able to hire a social media person and more computer people. And finally, now we have over a dozen staff now. And so volunteer coordinators, we have people in different countries. Now we have a Spanish site, and we have translators translate the videos. And so we just have this kind of global reach now that we never had before. And it's just a dream. So it's like, I did the same amount of work, like to come up with a video. And so now, but instead of, this many people seeing it, this many people see it. And so it's just so satisfying. And so, yeah, and then, I got approached by a publisher who said, you should write a book. I said, write a book? What do you mean? All my information's online for free. Why buy a book? Like, what's the, and who buys books anymore? Like, but they're like, oh, we'll make a donation to your favorite charity if you write a book. And finally offered to make such a big donation. I was like, well, I can't say no. And so that's how Not to Die came about.
Oh my goodness.
And then it sold so well, New York Times. Now it's sold over 1 million copies. And I was like, wow, I guess I'm in the book world now. Like, it's reaching people in a way that the website wasn't, which I was surprised. Like, you think the website would reach more people than a book, but some people just like books still. And so then, so now I'm in like a 3 or 4 year cycle, new books every 4 years, and then keeping the videos up. And so my next book, How Not to Age, will be out at the end of next year. I'm really looking forward.
I can't wait for that. Yes, that is one of my longevity. Yes, good longevity. Yes. That's definitely what I'm into. And sweet. I'm telling you, Dr. Greger, I actually have a box next to my door that I'm taking to my new primary care doctor. Of course, it includes your book and my book, but my book is definitely not a bestseller. And a couple of other plant-based books and my plant-based starter kit, which on there it recommends your book. But there is, having a book just feels so official in a different way, And plus, it's a beautifully written book. And I'm glad that you were so adamant about keeping all those references in there, because I think it just really validates that. It's not because publishers, honestly, the editors hate it. They hate it because when I was writing my book, the same thing. They're like, take all this out. And so I'm glad that you fought for it, because it just makes it so much better for all those people that want to look stuff up themselves and want to read it themselves. So thank you for that. That's amazing story. All right. I want to know, what are you most proud of or grateful for in your career?
Well, yeah, no, it's, Nutrition Facts. The website. Although, How Not to Die was, there's something about, a personal connection with the author. Like when you read a book, there's just like people see you in the street and it's like they know you. They're like old friends, like, oh my God, I read your book. And it's just like, in a way that I never had with just the website. And so it touched people in a completely different way. And it was something I really didn't realize. I'm so glad I did that. So I'm really happy with the book, and it certainly set the bar to high for all subsequent publications. And it's actually given me a chance to take a year off from the road. It's always so tough to, it's so nice to just sit down and just immerse myself in the literature. And now that I have, all the logistics taken care of at Nutrition Facts with staff, like I can just do the work that I'm uniquely suited to do, that I was kind of bored to do, that I'm really good at. And all the other little details are taken care of. And so I can just be kind of insulated and just totally immerse myself and, it's just, now with, almost everything's online. And so I used to have to go to the library, like literally go through the dusty stacks in the basement, pull out the journals myself. And so it's just a different world now. And it's just, and so, yeah, I do love speaking and meeting people, but it can be really exhausting.
Oh, for sure. Especially the way you do it, Dr. Greger. But that you get to immerse yourself in your zone of genius and just really savor all of that time that you can read through the research and write everything beautifully. So thank you. All right, I want to switch gears and ask an interesting question that I have been contemplating for a long time. And that's for those of us in the health space, should we keep our focus on health and well-being and separate it from our animal advocacy? A lot of us that eat a plant-based diet, we also consider ourselves vegan. Do you think that this is a conflict of interest, and does it invalidate the science to promote both of them?
I think it can definitely cause people to question one's motivation.
Yeah.
So when you say, processed meat causes cancer, and they say, well, you're just saying that because you want to save the pigs. And you're like, the World Health Organization says processed meat is category 1 carcinogen, causes cancer in human beings, et cetera, et cetera. But there's always this kind of, is there some kind of underlying motivation? Do you really care about me? Do you care about my health, my family's health? Or are you just saying this because you have some other motivations? Mm-hmm. And so that's why, being a physician first, being a healthcare provider first, and then an advocate and everything second, it's really critical. And so, so many people in the movement like Colin Campbell and Esselstyn, have no kind of, didn't come from any kind of animal advocacy. They're just sticking with the science, and I think that's really, and they've been criticized. So Colin Campbell, talks about his experiments on rats, and people are like, oh, how could you experiment on rats? And you could see by his reaction, it was just like, it never even occurred to him, right? But I think that's actually useful because then it's just like, well, they're not doing it for any kind of underlying motivation. They're doing it just because this is what the science says, and they're doctors or the researchers, and they really want people to be healthy. At the same time, it's like, it's the same thing with the environmental benefits of eating lower on the food chain, right? It's like, oh, are you just telling me not to eat beef because of climate change, or are you telling me not to eat beef because you really care that I don't get colorectal cancer, right? And it's like, but the fact that it also has these other benefits, including social justice benefits, how they treat workers in slaughter plants. And there's just all these other ancillary benefits, which really just kind of icing on the cake. Yeah. And so you would hate to intentionally try to ignore that or suppress that or not talk about it because there's so many powerful things, and who knows what brings people into a movement. Some people don't care about animals at all, but really care about the environment, or don't care about, but they really care about, occupational health, whatever. And so, it's having this big tent, and bring people in for whatever reason, even if it's completely selfish. It's like, I don't care about anything. I just care about, I want to see my grandkids grow up, and want to be able to walk up and down stairs. It's like, hey, welcome. That's why we do what we do. So, as far as I'm concerned, all of the above. But it is important to, I'm afraid with any kind of ideological motivation, there's this temptation to do this kind of, to have this kind of confirmation bias where, you look through a lens at the science in a way that's not completely objective. Yeah. And that is something that we have to avoid. Regardless of what you feel about whatever, science is the science, and you really have to stick with reality, particularly now, with COVID and all of this crazy misinformation out there. And the truth is slipping away, right? And trust in scientific institutions, some of which well-earned mistrust, but we need to uphold the evidence base, and so that's sacred. And so however you come at this, as long as you're, saying it like it is, that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Well, and I think awareness is key because there's so many different ways we can be biased as healthcare professionals. So just acknowledging that bias is a real thing and trying to become aware of it, I think is a really good step for all of us too. But yeah, thank you for your opinion on that. I really appreciate it. All right. I would love to know, what is the wildest argument against plant-based eating that you've ever heard?
Wow, my God. Plants have feelings, right? There's like your carrot screams when you pull it up or something, which doesn't make any sense to me with my biology background. I mean, they just don't have the kind of physiology that would allow such things. Yeah. So that's crazy. What else? In terms of the nutrition world, like the whole plant paradox, the lectin thing from Gundry, it was just like nutty. The fact that, the assertion that, like beans are bad for you or something, it's like, it just flies in the face of the mountain of evidence out there. It's like, how can you say that with a straight face? He's saying, oh yeah, fruits and vegetables have these things that are bad for you. And it's like, well, they're obviously not bad for you. Like, it just, yeah. So that's the blood type diet. That's another kooky one, where if you're special blood type, then, you can't eat, particular things. I mean, that's just kind of like some kind of weird astrology kind of thing.
What astrology isn't scientific? I'm so disappointed.
Exactly. It's like, yeah. I mean, yeah, but people like that kind of personalized. Oh, I'm a Libra, so I have to eat this. It's not like one size fits all. They like this personalized thing. But I mean, but if it's based on silliness.
One thing that I've come across several times this week, I don't know why this week it's been hitting me like 3 times, are people that are saying that not only is saturated fat not bad, you should eat more, but you should not eat plant-based sources of saturated fat because those are bad. You should only eat animal saturated fat because it actually makes you stronger. So it came across 3 times from 3 different people this week, and I'm like,
crazy.
I feel like I get thrown into this alternate universe. Well, I don't even know what up and down is. Like, wait, where did this even come from?
Right. I mean, it makes you deader. I mean, that's about the.
It makes your arteries stronger, as in thicker. I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, that's super interesting. Okay,
right. Who wants hollow arteries, right? These are solid, right?
You want to be rock solid in your arteries.
Right.
True. That might be the motivation. Okay, so what do you wish more people knew? Last one.
The good news, right? The tremendous power of our health, destiny, and longevity. Plant-based diet. I go through each of the 15 leading causes of death, talking about the role diet may play in preventing, arresting, or reversing each of our 15 causes. And so I encourage you to go to your local library, grab the book, go to nutritionfacts.org and, drill down, for every chapter in How Not to Die, there's, 60 videos out there. And if there's any questions or anyone has any follow-up, please reach out to me. My contact information is at the website. I encourage people to contact me anytime for anything. So we can best protect yourself and your family.
Thank you so much, Dr. Michael Greger, for everything you do. Keep working hard, get more sleep, and we'll see you soon. Have a fantastic day.
Thank you so much. Keep up the good work.
Hey, veggie lover. I hope that you loved today's episode. Will you take a second and do me a huge favor? Please subscribe to my podcast so that you never miss an episode. You're the reason I'm here, and I want to share it all with you. Thank you for listening, and have a plantastic day.